Shit 90 Shows Taught Me.
Shit 90 Shows Taught Me was not filmed before a live studio audience.
Are you ready to slay another day? So are we. Welcome back to Shit 90 Shows Taught Me. I'm Jess Sterling here with my co-host, Sarah Humphrey. Sarah, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well. I just got the FedEx man just came. He's actually really cute. And he just delivered a humongous box. And I've been waiting for this for like a good long while, actually. It's like been back ordered. It's Jonathan merch, actually. I've been,
of course.
yeah, I got the t-shirts.
The posters.
I got a couple of posters.
What about the trading cards?
I did, but I gotta be honest with you. I just got them for resale. I'm really hoping to like make a good dime off of those cards, especially because one of them I got like pre-signed. So I'm really hoping that that's gonna get me some good money. Maybe I'll be able to pay off the rest of my husband's student debt with that. That's the hope.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I would show you a haul, but I also don't want you to know what I have because you might come here and
try to steal it because it's so valuable. Well, we're not alone today. Joining us in the opening credits for the first time, we have AJ Maz. AJ, how are you?
These are all lies. What are you talking about?
I would never lie. I would never, ever, ever lie.
That's right. We're covering Superstar.
I'm doing very good.
Season 4, episode 17 of Buffy. And AJ, I'm noticing a pattern with episodes you pick. Number 1, maybe slightly divisive episodes. Number 2, episodes that heavily feature our guy Jonathan.
Yeah, and part of that is because the Jonathan episodes were written by Jana Spenson, and Jane is someone who I reached out to when I was writing my book, and she was very generous and, you allowed me to interview her, and we spoke a lot about these Earshot and Superstar. So I have a little bit of, more behind the scenes stuff that she told me from these. But yeah, I love shows that take a character who's not like part of the core and like gives them something to do from time to time without like totally derailing the storylines for the season. And then I think Buffy did that more than most shows, and in a very strong capacity, a very strong capacity, you might say. I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, Jonathan makes a splash this episode. The moment I saw the opening credits, I was like, what are we doing? What is happening? Why is Jonathan a member of the opening credits in like a very big way? And then the more time went on, I was like, something is so very wrong. When Buffy is like, do you know who we need? And especially Sarah, I don't know about you. I feel like I want to start fast forwarding through the previously ons because I'm so done with them showing previously ons that make no sense. And then it's like all to just spoil something, right? Like when Faith showed up, they had a previously on that had Faith. With Jonathan, it was like previously on Buffy, and Jonathan, it's like the shooting episode. And I was like, what do you mean previously on Buffy, the shooting episode? That wasn't even this season. What are we doing?
I know. I think that, I don't think that that's a hot take for somebody to skip the previously ons because it's so spoiler heavy. And to be honest with you, that was the original premise of Previously On, which is a Whirlwind podcast of how much can you know what's happening in a show if you only watch Previously Ons. And in a lot of shows, it can get very spoilery. I guess like that's where like the edgic comes in as well. I didn't really think about anything. I guess I don't really read into it too much when there is a previously on. I just like, oh, it's there, whatever. But I definitely think that it was a giveaway. I thought that I felt like something was off from like the very second the episode started. It just felt like we were in a fantasy land, and I guess like my original question was, is this a dream? We just saw a dreams type sequence in
Yes.
the cold opening with Faith and Buffy. So I think that was my original assumption of what was going on. Maybe it was some sort of dream from Buffy or Jonathan or something, but it was a lot more nefarious than that a bit.
Yeah. My first like 2 notes that I wrote down for this episode are, why is Jonathan in the opening credits? ? Exclamation point. And then, why are the Scoobies going to Jonathan? Is this a dream sequence? And then my next note was, this is definitely a fucking dream sequence.
No, I think I called right away because like, you know, Adam's been watching this with us, and it was like, he was like, what's up with this episode? And I was like, I think it's a spoof episode. Like, and that's what it felt like. It felt like a spoof episode. So it was kind of like, AJ, like a marriage between like a spoof episode and like something that's like canon, you know. I mean, I guess it is going to be canon. It's happened.
Yeah. It wasn't a dream. Like all of the
reality.
things that happened.
Yeah. But originally it felt like, oh, this is like a spoof episode. I'm thinking kind of back to Felicity, where Jess, we had that episode where like everybody was in the box. It was like a Twilight episode.
Yeah.
It's like, is this actually happening? Is it not? I don't know. But AJ, do you recall when you first saw this episode, and like what was your original inclination about what was happening?
So originally when this episode aired, it had been about a full month since we last saw Buffy. Again, you know, reruns were a thing, and we were waiting and waiting. So when, you know, the show starts and it's just kind of like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are these credits? Like, you thought you missed a couple of episodes because it had been so long since you'd seen it, and like, what happened last week that I missed? So yeah, there was definitely that air of confusion. I think they used it to their advantage to put this episode here. You know, and after this episode, it's going to be another 3 weeks.
Oh, interesting. Gosh,
yeah, so this is just like an island of itself. So in many ways, I think that hurt the reception of this episode, because you know you so want to see what happens next. Oh my gosh, you know, this whole Buffy Faith thing and the body swap, and like, what is the fallout from this, and like, what are we doing here? I think that's why I think this episode at the time got a lot more negative reception than now, where it's like, you know, you can go episode, and it's like, okay, it kind of works now because you didn't build up this anticipation of waiting for something that didn't happen this week.
Yeah, I could see people being upset about it, specifically because it really, there's not a ton of like main storyline plot progression. Like, Adam makes an appearance, but he's not really doing a lot. Most of this episode feels like the point of the episode, Sarah, is like what Easter eggs you can point out in the background of every scene. Like, how many Jonathan things can you point out? Like, this actor, how many photo shoots does he have to do? Like, all this posters and the playing cards and even the balls poster, Sarah. The balls poster was replaced by like a Jonathan doing the Michael Jordan jump.
Yeah, let me be clear. I feel like the prop department had a field day. Like, this was where they really got to shine. And I was a film major for a good hot minute, and I specifically wanted to do props and sets. And this would have just been like an absolute field day for them to be able to, in this alternate universe that they were living in, where Jonathan was the savior, was incredible, had all this power, all this strength, or all this whatever, for him to have all of these Easter eggs. The Easter eggs, I think, and the little details are the best part of this episode. So it's funny because, like, did I enjoy it? Like, no, like, it was the stupidest fucking shit I've ever seen. But like, I can appreciate it for like the bit. And like, if there's anything that I love in this world, it's the bit. Like, I love the bit. So I think like just giving credit to all those details and all those little Easter eggs and all of those little like blink and you miss it moments, I think like elevate this episode's clout, or maybe clout's not the, like, it elevates the level that
It like differentiates it too.
it differentiates it from like another stereotypical bad episode like The Pact, like Beer Bad, like whatever other bullshit that we complained about.
Yeah, like I agree with AJ in that I could see how this would be a very frustrating experience if you're coming off of a 3-week break where some big stuff went down. Like Faith and Buffy are body swapping. Like, first of all, Faith comes back, like, and then they're body swapping. Like, that's a big story progression beat to then jump into in an episode that feels like a love letter to like a very tertiary obscure character. And AJ, I'm a fan of TV, you could say. Like, I get it, right? Like I was on the message boards when Lost was on. Like, this is almost like a love letter to the fans of like, hey, remember that guy Jonathan? We're gonna have a field day with him. Like, we're gonna have a great time and everyone's gonna enjoy themselves. But if I'm a fan and I'm coming off of that episode we just left and it's been 3 freaking weeks and this is the episode you put in front of me, it's like starving and then being like, okay, you ready for this epic meal? Here's a bowl of rice when you were like promised steak. So like, I get it. I thought it was funny. It was like silly. But like there was a certain point where I was like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we actually doing here? Like, once Jonathan got called in, like, for the 7th time to help out, I think I was like, I am ready to solve the mystery of what is happening in this town right now.
I think it's hard because I'm of two minds here. Again, like, I know what my reaction was when it aired, and I know what the general reaction was. But also, going back to the episode now, after all these years, knowing where the show goes from here and having seen it through its completion there's a lot going on here that I think on a rewatch years later is so much more to appreciate about this episode. And this is what Joss does. And this is what's so frustrating about Joss. Again, personal issues aside and all that other stuff, just as an artist and writer and in the moment. Like at the beginning of the season, you got your first episode and he basically has a long tracking shot where he shows you the whole season, like, oh, there's who are these strange military guys as the initiative walks by, and like, oh, who's this girl? What is she? Why is Oz like paying attention to her? Like everything from the season, he kind of seeds in that first episode, the season. And here, what he's doing is he's continuing the theme of the season in a very interesting way, I think, because to me, the main theme of the season is, can I reinvent myself? Am I who I thought I was, or am I someone different? And so, what you have, in addition to, Willow's journey is like she's developing her sexuality, and like, is that something that she can do? And can Buffy move on from Angel? In addition to Angel have his own show, can I do a new show with Angel and make that work as well? Or Giles, can I recognize Giles as this demon? Like Faith and Buffy swapping bodies. Is there something about the core of me that makes you able to see me, even though I don't look like myself? Like that's the whole theme of this. So to now continue that theme with Jonathan, this character is like a forgotten character from, the year before, but it's like Buffy saves his life. He was going to kill himself. And to me, this episode is kind of like Buffy, yeah, she saved him, but what he wanted was to be part of the gang. What he wanted was to have friends. What he wanted was to belong. And he doesn't. Like, they barely even checked on him. Like, even after he like develops this like newfound confidence for a short bit of time and gives Buffy the award, the Protector Award at the prom, what happens in this episode? The story is flipped. Remember when you gave Jonathan that Protector Award at the prom? Like, it's such a commentary on, these forgotten people who don't get a chance to change their lives, and whereas Buffy is getting all these opportunities to change again and again and again. And I just find that conflict very, very interesting, in addition to the whole this is a Mary Sue episode and making fun of the whole fan fiction, like, what if I came into this episode and I was Buffy's best friend, and like kind of thing, the whole Mary Sue of it all, like parodying that on top of it. But there's a serious undertone, especially because at the end of this episode, even Jonathan himself is beginning to forget everything that happened in this episode. And so it's like, he's forgotten again, despite all of this. At the end, he's not going to be their friend again. He's still on the outside looking in. And even though he comes up with an amazing revelation that us as the fans, the people watching the show go, oh, this is how you defeat Adam. Are they even going to remember this 5 minutes from now? Mm-hmm. He solved the whole thing. And yet that could be gone to the wind as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jonathan is like a big player in this episode for many reasons, right? It seems like he's the guy now that the Scoobies are going to, like, oh, there's too many demons for us to handle, too many vampires for us to handle. We need to pull in Jonathan. He's kind of like the default leader now instead of Buffy. But he does more than that, beyond like the paparazzi and everyone wanting his autograph and all of that. He does have a lot of one-on-one time with our characters, Sarah. And like two of those people are Riley and Buffy, because even though this episode feels a bit kind of off the beaten path, there is the continuation of the story of Riley and Buffy and the fallout of Riley unknowingly sleeping with Faith's brain in Buffy's body, and how Buffy feels about that and Riley's reaction to that. Firstly, I think a lot of things about Buffy age surprisingly well. For them, like a lot of it does, more so than other shows we've covered, Sarah. But I do think something we should point out that it doesn't age particularly well is that Riley is not treated as much of a victim as he should be, considering he did not consent to sleeping with Faith's mind either, just like Buffy is upset that Riley slept with Faith. Well, Riley didn't even know it was Faith, so he couldn't possibly have said yes, And so a lot of this episode revolves around Buffy trying to parse out her feelings about what, Riley did. And I'm saying that in like quotes as like what he accidentally did. And it's really interesting, Sarah, that we get two different conversations with Jonathan, where he's the one doling out advice to them,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that Jonathan kind of helps our characters process a couple of different things throughout the episode. I do appreciate what you're saying about Riley, because I think that because like Buffy's body is the one that got snatched and she's the one that feels like she got cheated on, we do forget that like Riley was part of this like really uncomfortable situation as well. And a lot of it's like positioning Riley to be the one that needs to be forgiven. You know what I mean?
Yes. He apologizes over and over and over again in this episode, which I understand him feeling guilty, but also he is like a victim as well.
Yeah. And like I remember saying in the last episode, like, oh man, like I'll be really bummed out if like Buffy has a really hard time getting past this, or if it becomes a big thing. I don't know exactly what Jonathan said, but he really did feel like the advice that he was giving tracked. Like it felt like good advice that was also fair advice.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think so. I think AJ is like, and especially because like you were bringing up AJ at the very end of the episode, Jonathan is saying like, listen, I know I gave you some advice and I still think you should like take it, right? Like it's so interesting that like he is the person that they turn to when never in a million years, right? Like Buffy would probably turn to Willow, and she does. And Riley would probably turn to, maybe he wouldn't turn to those like the other guys in the initiative anymore because they're not really as close anymore. But
they're kind of mean. I mean, one of the guys,
they suck big time. Yeah.
One of the guys is just like trying to like follow orders. AJ, do you know what these guys are named? Because I just call him like Riley's buddy and like that other guy. And I feel like that might be a little disrespectful because everybody does have a name. But yeah, what do you know what Riley's buddies are named?
It's one of those things where I'm at the age now where I can forget names that you tell me 2 seconds ago. So there's that, and he's not Gunn from Angel. So it was a character on Angel who's also the only black guy on the show, and so like it's my brain power just goes out the window. It's interesting to me that. Yeah, like these are not guys that Riley would turn to. They're part of this brotherhood. Like we're inseparable, but their leader goes away, and it's like, we're going to blame Buffy, and he's not going to blame Buffy. It goes back to your whole circle of blame that's going on here. I will say one of the things that's interesting about the whole Riley Buffy situation, again, with the whole caveat that no one's going to remember this episode because the reality is kind of wisping. But I think Buffy has this kind of realization in the middle of this episode where I think she's getting a little angrier at Riley. And it's completely unfair to Riley, but what she's saying to herself is, look, when Giles turned into this demon, I was able to see through, and I was able to see that Giles was in there. Like, why couldn't you see through when it was like, why couldn't? And as this episode's going on, where she seems to be the one who's like going, something's not quite right here, and she's trying to figure it out. And it's, even one of the negatives of this episode is like, even the magical Tara and Willow, who were able to figure it out last week, couldn't figure it out this week. That's like, I thought she was as powerful when you could sense these things. Like, well, no, they couldn't. I didn't like that step back in their development. However, Buffy's the one who figured this out, and I just think there's something in her subconscious is making her even angrier at Riley for not being able to figure out and notice the difference, even though that's unfair to him.
And you're completely correct, AJ, in terms of like, in her mind, she's thinking, I was able to see that was Giles, but also I think it's more of an apples and oranges sort of situation, because with Giles, he was a demon. He looked totally different versus Riley is having a conversation with a person who looks exactly like Buffy. Why would he think it wasn't Buffy? Like he had no reason to think it wouldn't be her. And as we established the last episode, when he's like, wait, who is Faith? Like, he doesn't know Faith from a hole in the wall. Like, he has no idea that like her signature stuff is like leather pants and a vampy lip, like he doesn't know her. He doesn't know what to look out for. And I think at least I liked what I will give the show credit for, and I guess Buffy credit for, is I like that she's upset versus just being angry or just being like annoyed with Riley. She is saying, I want to be over this, but I don't know how. And I feel like that's a big step up from just beating him down and making him feel worse and making him feel guilty. She knows that he didn't intentionally do anything wrong. And so I like that is the way the character acts, because I think, again, I've said this so many times, like a lesser show would go the easier route of she's just angry at him and she takes it out on him. And this feels like way more of an emotionally intelligent character kind of realizing what their own feelings are and being able to identify how you're feeling and trying to solve it. And I'm going to extend that credit as well to Riley, because both Buffy and Riley, and this is this is a sign of, actually, Sarah, you're going to be very happy. Mm-hmm. This is a sign of a very healthy relationship when each party member is like, I'm upset because things aren't going well, and I'm actively seeking out someone to give me advice to fix things. Neither of them is like just, hoisting blame on the other person and then being like, I can't do anything. Like, what am I supposed to do? Both of them are trying to get advice to then fix what's wrong, which I was really impressed with. Now, part of Riley's tactic, in my opinion, seems to be just going around shirtless. So, to each their own.
Why do you have to be so rude? Let him be. AJ, I am dying to know what is your stance on the Riley? Are you a Ruffy fan?
It was so funny because to prepare for this episode, I went back and I read the Q&A I did with Jana Spenson over email about these two episodes. And I actually asked the question, so say that you were a fan of a show and you wanted to change the course of the story. Like if you wanted Riley to go away and never be seen again because you hate the relationship with Riley Buffy. Hypothetically, of course. Yeah, I was
Now,
never.
can I ask, like,
never a
is
fan.
it what is the reason you're not a fan? Because I'm really interested in knowing. I personally feel like it's a little bit of a lack of chemistry, and I find him to be a little plain for me. But I don't know if that's what everybody feels, besides Sarah, who obviously loves him.
Yeah, I would say I don't like Mark Lucas as an actor. I never liked the character. He got better in the role over time. I will say that. I just yeah. There's no chemistry between them. Just never
Nuts.
saw it. Never saw it.
That is nuts. There's no
And
chemistry.
might I say, no spoilers, but next week's episode.
Oh, bad. Oh, no. I know. Yeah. The next week's episode, Sarah, is, if you'll remember, way back in time, when we had Hannah on and she was asking for another episode to sign up. And I heard the word wild and I thought she was asking for where the wild things are. And her reaction was pretty much that. And she was like, no, wild at heart, not where the wild things are. So this next episode we have on our horizon is, I think, known to be really awful. So that'll be
fun.
fun.
I think Sarah will like it a lot.
Okay.
Oh, fun.
But that's about it.
Yeah. I do think there is, like, I will defend Riley a little bit, and maybe, I don't know if I'm defending the actor or the character, but like, I do think there is just this like boyish earnestness
It's
that
so
he
cute.
has.
That's what I like. I like that.
And you exactly, like, that's what you're looking for, and you like that. Meanwhile, I see like a very like spicy, intense scene between like Buffy and Spike, and I am like, oh, that's what I want to watch. But again, to each their own, and I can understand. I totally get now the Ruffy stands, because Sarah, the other thing I wanted to bring up about Riley, I was so pleased that we got the answer to our question of, is he still taking those meds? And I was so pleased that the show addressed this. And again, like, I know I shouldn't be surprised at this point, like, we're 4 seasons in, but I was so happy they didn't just like let that storyline just fly off into the ether, that they were like, nope, he's not even eating the food they're giving him because he doesn't trust that they're not trying to like secretly drug him. And I was so happy and very proud of Riley, because how easy would it be to just eat that food and like be super strong, you know?
The thing is that Riley, I truly believe, and is especially, I truly believe he is a good guy. He's a good guy. I think he is too good for Buffy, because not in a way that I think like Buffy's not good enough for him. What I mean is that I do think that Buffy's going to want that passion, that grit, that like little dash of evil, that interest. He is too normal. And in an ideal world, the fact that Riley has this military experience and he's like has the ability to fight and respects her and doesn't care that she's like 10 times stronger than him. In an ideal world, that should be enough. But we all know when you're an 18-year-old girl or you're in your early 20s, you're toxic as fuck, and you choose the Spikes of the world, or you choose the guy that barely has a job and like maybe like just got fired from Walgreens, and like, you know, it like you know, like the guy that's like not the good guy, or like the good guy for you. We all, but he's hot.
Well,
and maybe
Riley
has,
is
like,
the
a
guy
tattoo, and that's like what you go after. But Riley is husband material, and Buffy is not ready.
She's in college. Yeah.
Like a man that's husband material.
Riley is the guy you bring home and introduce to your parents.
And,
Riley is the guy that you're like, this guy is stable. He's steady. He's kind. Like, those are the, but like when you're in like your first year of college, like you're looking to fuck around. You're looking to make mistakes. And like, Riley isn't a mistake. Spike is a mistake. Riley is not a mistake.
Yeah. So like I get the other side of it, but also you have to like respect the fact that like if we're trying to find who is the best match for Buffy, I firmly believe it is Riley. Like, I cannot imagine her finding somebody that is as nice and evenly matched, but I don't think that's what Miss Buffy girl is gonna be looking for.
Yeah. At least they're not like star-crossed lover, sort of like always going to end in tragedy in the way that her and Angel were.
Yeah,
like that
they
was
were
just, it was only
unbearable.
going to ever end poorly. And so that, and they were like so schmoopy, AJ, I could not. They were way too schmoopy. It killed me. I don't find Riley and Buffy to be as schmoopy, although she did get on my nerves when she's like, look at him eating that Twinkie. Like he's going to be punished. Like, okay, enough.
Well, yeah, and Buffy made her mistake with Parker earlier in the season, certainly, and we all know that was bad news. And I think she's overcorrected, and I think part of the problem with this relationship where it stands right now. I mean, even now, I don't think that Riley believes he's good enough for her, and that's always there, and it makes that makes me watching it unappealing.
That's so fair, though. And it's interesting. Because Sarah, we complimented him on like he takes it in stride when Buffy can beat the shit out of him, right? Yeah. Like he takes that in stride. Imagine it. It must be even harder now that he is even less strong than he was, right? Yeah. Like that's really difficult. And for that not to even be in consideration for like what is causing strife in their relationship, I think is actually a credit to him as a character.
Yeah. He's a good old boy, but sometimes we don't end up with the good old boys, and it's just a fact of life. But it's fine. Yeah. I do like Jonathan being involved in that relationship. He seems to be freaking everywhere, and it's definitely feels like we're in the Twilight Zone because it just gets progressively weirder and weirder as the episode went on with all the Jonathan stuff, overexposure. I did like the paparazzi. That was pretty funny. It was like, I was like, who? It was like he was a like military informant, but also like a Hollywood actor, but also like a star basketball player.
He does it all. He's like a Dolly Parton, like she's a country artist. She owns a freaking theme park. Like she's an every woman. She can do it all.
Truly. So it was so bizarre, honestly.
Those are some of my favorite. I think that as much as it got a little grating by the end, some of my favorite things were just how much they were leaning into the bit. Like one of my absolute favorite things was finding out that Anya and Xander were arguing because Anya moaned Jonathan's name like while they were being intimate. And it killed me. It was so funny. Like when he's at the Bronze and everyone is mesmerized by this man on stage. Like the fact that at the end of the episode, Riley says, I felt like I was too tall. Like it's just so funny because it is so opposite the trope of like, men lie about their height and always want to be taller and women love tall men. And, that being a whole trope, I I really like how they flipped it on its head. And because, Jonathan is a short king. And I thought I was tickled by it. I really was. So yeah, that cracked me up, especially seeing him as head of the initiative when like he, you got these like beefy military men and then like the shortest guy in the room who's like, a petite guy, is at the head of the table. Really did crack me up. AJ, I want to shift gears a little bit and I want to talk about, you brought up Willow and Tara, and I want to bring them back up again because I've been very much on team. Like, I feel like the Tara stuff is a red herring. Like, I don't actually think she's bad. I think that like the reason that she threw the dust under the bed a couple of episodes ago and hid that from Willow, I felt like there was like a reason behind it. Like maybe she has some sort of demon history there that would have showed up. But I got a little bit of a red flag this episode. And here's the thing. I don't know if it's, I guess it is canon. But like, are people going to remember it because of the whole Jonathan thing? I don't know. When Willow is having a conversation with Tara and she's just telling her about like all the Scooby adventure stuff, Tara is like specifically asking about Buffy, like in a way where on one hand you could read it as, oh, she's like being a very kind friend of a friend, like, oh, she's interested in Buffy's well-being. She cares about her, whatever. Or you could look at it as like, she's asking a lot of questions. Why is she so close to Willow? Willow's BFFs with Buffy. Is this a way to get close to Buffy? I don't think so, but I feel like I had to throw it out there, AJ.
Well, and of course, zip the lip. I mean, you'll just have to
Yeah.
wait and see. I'm not going to spoil it one way or the other. But I do think, I think last week's episode also was kind of along the, it's like, why don't you introduce me to your friends? Like, if we're together, why won't you? So, I think if we've established that Willow talks about Buffy, like, oh my God, Buffy this, Buffy that. And like, well, when can I meet Buffy? Well, you can't. And we'll go to the Bronze when she's not here. And, she is here. Crap, kind of thing. Like, I think that's more of what's going on there, at least at this point. Red herrings notwithstanding, I think it's just it's a relationship. It's a new relationship. And it's like, yes, we use the Wicca as code for what's really going on here. We know this, but it's like, hey, I'm not embarrassed by any of this. Why are you embarrassed by this? And yet, so far, Tara has been the type of personality who, like, well, I'm content to stay at home and never leave the house, really, but I still want to meet your friends. Like, so, yeah, it's that weird kind of. Yeah, and is there a cultural stigma on this? And of course, there is, more so at that time than present day. But yeah, it certainly is. It's again, Willow is not used to this. She's just come off this whole Oz heartbreak and is questioning. Even though she may think she's kind of gay, in an alternate universe, she certainly was. So hey, eventually we're all going to discover who we are and which outfit, which person inside this body is gonna win out. Who am I? Like that's that's this season.
Yeah, and Sarah, part of me also, and I guess there's two ways to look at it, but like there are so many moments this episode where now that Tara is a little more present with the rest of the Scoobies, I feel like there are so many moments where there's such obvious like chemistry, sexual tension, whatever you want to call it, between Tara and Willow, that like I feel like Buffy as her best friend should be like, hey, how's it going with Tara? Or like, but maybe you're feeling like you're putting Willow on the spot and like trying to out her. I don't know.
I'll tell you why.
I'll tell you why. There,
I'll tell you why. My mom came out as a lesbian at 60 years old. She would tell me all the time. She was always out. She was always at these women's clubs. She was always doing this, always doing that. She would like stay over the night at her friend's house. I was like, my mom's like just getting drunk all the time. Like she's just like, having a night out. No, she had a girlfriend.
Girl.
I had no idea. I didn't know. I mean, and then when she finally like, came out, like number one, my therapist called it before I did, but like when she finally came out to me, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Cool. Like, so I think that especially when you're in it, I think, or like when you have like a preconceived thing, like she just had, Willow just had this like big affair with Xander. She had a crush on Xander since she was a child. She had this like love affair with Oz. Like I think that like you just sometimes just don't see it that way when you're in it. Like even though you're that close to that friend, sometimes you just like don't realize it.
I just feel like there are times when Buffy, like, and we've talked about this in the past, where so much of stuff revolves around Buffy. Obviously not this episode, it's Jonathan's episode, but like usually that's Buffy, right? Like all the stories, everything happening revolves around Buffy, and Buffy is like a little like main character energy. And there are times where we've said that, and like Willow has felt like I'm just this like side character in my own life. And I always feel like I want to put a little bit more of the onus on Buffy to be like, she should be the one reaching out to her friend. Like she should be the one taking that step, because Willow is like timid in that way. And I think never really wants to like grab the spotlight and shove it on herself. And again, it's really touchy and it's very difficult, as AJ said, like trying to figure out who you are. And you could just scare Willow or like make her uncomfortable or make her feel like you're putting her on the spot. But it was just something I thought was really interesting, because we've never really seen Tara hanging out with the Scoobies. In fact, it's been made a plot point that like Willow doesn't really want to introduce her and she wants to keep these things separate. But this episode, she seemed pretty integrated into them. And I just thought it was really interesting. Like they're all kind of, AJ, it's almost like it's like three couples hanging out. Like that was the vibe it gave off,
Well, yeah. And on top of that, you have Buffy so into Riley and yet upset that Riley couldn't tell the difference, but she herself can't tell that something's going on with Willow because partially she's obsessed with her own life, but also she is the Slayer and she's got this really important stuff that she also has to do. I mean, it's not her fault as well. And from Willow's point of view, it's like, look, I brought Oz around and everything was great for a while, but because we were on all these dangerous situations and with all the occult stuff and everything, all of a sudden, oh great, and I wake up one day and he's in a cage with another woman, and like, well crap, maybe if I don't bring her around, she won't get infected by that same sort of stuff too, and maybe this is just for me, this is my thing, I can keep it, and I can keep it safe. And we've learned on the show that no, you can't ever do that. No one is truly safe just from existing, but I think the longer she can go without exposing her, the safer I think maybe she feels. Like this is a way to go, to retreat away from all that stuff and her own little place.
Although I will say we do see Tara get into a bit of conflict this episode, getting attacked by these demons. She is all alone. Tara gets the best witch award. Like, I'm sorry. We already been new, but like, we're just going to reiterate it. She's like being attacked all by her lonesome, and she's able to have the wherewithal to be like, poof, smoky magic on you, and I will escape into a janitor closet.
Okay, like, I'm serious. She is the best. Willow, I know Willow's a new witch. It's not her fault. She's learning. Like, she kind of blows as a witch. Like, she kind of just does. She doesn't have those innate natural abilities like a Tara does, like a Rat Amy does. Although,
yet again, we don't get to see someone being like, hey, Tara, I have this friend who's a rat. Can you help? Like, just ask, just ask.
If Rat Amy was really a good witch, she would have been able to turn herself back even if she was a rat.
She can't speak. Like, usually there's verbal components to spells, Sarah. If she can squeak, that's not going to do anything. Like, even Xander can cast magic, by the way.
So her mom is literally stuck in a trophy. So, like, the two of them together are really in some bad situations.
Wait, that wasn't Tara. You're talking about Rat Amy.
No, I'm talking about Rat Amy. She lives rent-free in my mind. Of course.
What if Tara and Rat Amy are related? Because didn't Tara talk about her mom being a very powerful witch? What if they're sisters? What if that's a plot point? I would love that. Everyone listening is like taking their headphones off and just throwing them across the room.
It'd be interesting because it's just like, I'm so happy that like my wench of a sister who is like super popular is like trapped as a rat, and now I'm free. But then also,
it's so fun listening to you, and obviously I'm just biting tongue really hard on all this stuff, but it is traditionally on this show, and it's an episode like this where, again, when you know what happens all the way down the line and come back and see all of the hidden little things, and I don't even know if it was intentional when they wrote this episode to see the future, but because the show has such a memory and always goes back and pulls from episodes, it's the episodes like this that they pull for. There were about 6 or 7 different lines in this episode and comments and looks where I was just like, and just the fact that you are looking into everything is just fantastic, and sometimes you're wildly off base and sometimes you nail it perfectly. And I just love the fact that you are please continue to look.
We'll never forget Rat Amy. Like, she's always on our minds. Just know that, people. Okay, we will never forget her. We love her so much. We want justice for her, truly. But Tara does help out this episode, though, because we have the whole thing with the symbol, right? Where we see the symbol on Jonathan. It's the same symbol that's on the demons. And after the Scoobies do some research, they find out it's an augmentation spell and that Jonathan has cast it on himself. Meanwhile, Buffy is already starting to be a little suspicious. Like, what's with this guy? Why does everyone love him? Like, why is he like more famous than me? Like, why is he the go-to? I'm the freaking Slayer, Like, Buffy is starting to figure it out. And it turns out that I like this, Sarah, this balance, right? There always has to be a balance. What's the Thanos gif, there has to be balance. And so when Jonathan made himself the best at everything, of course you then had to make an evil demon at the same time because the world must balance out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I loved it.
Yeah. So the evil demon just starts like creeping everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, he's like he's stalking a stalker, which is kind of funny. One of Jonathan's fans is like trying to like peek into his house, and the demon just comes out of nowhere and attacks her. They attack Tara. And they're all trying, and the whole time Buffy is like, Jonathan's acting a little suspicious. I feel like he knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
And so they do team up. They because Jonathan offers like him and Buffy are gonna go figure this out together. And yeah, they do. It's interesting how it all resolves, and I really loved the inclusion, AJ, of Anya in this, because it makes all the sense in the world for Buffy to approach Anya, who is like this man-hating demon. I forget, right? She does like the wish stuff. That this feels like a wish thing. This feels like a wish demon-y thing. And so it makes so much sense to approach her. The scenes they had together, truly, I love Anya with all my heart. I love her so much. Like her being like, oh, you're still here. She doesn't. I love that she of all, like she's one of the only people that doesn't like worship Buffy. Like she's just like, oh, you're here. Like she makes no qualms about like, I'm dating Xander, but I don't have to be friends with any of the rest of you. Like it's fine. Do what you need to do, and like I'm gonna read my book about Jonathan. It was great, AJ. I love her.
I mean, she's stuck. She's stuck as this high school girl, now post high school, but like she's stuck. This is not what she has for. She's lived her life and several lives. She just happens to be stuck here. And yeah, this is all a been there, done that. Oh, alternate reality. Yeah, I've done that. Like no big deal for her, and she doesn't care. She really doesn't care. I do think that's great, but it is great that nothing in this reality is so different that it changes the backstory of these characters. It's just the glamour spell that Jonathan's done. And I think part of it is like, it really does make sense, when we find out like, oh, I was in therapy and, I met somebody who taught me how to do this spell, and I kind of do it. What is the spell? The spell is not for him to like be the most famous, really. It's for him to get attention and to be the hero. And in a way, he does get to be the hero in the end by giving up the spell. So he achieves the goal, and the tragedy of it all is that he achieves his goal and he won't remember it. I think that's
really sad. Yeah,
the irony of this whole episode.
He has an opportunity, like at one point, to like shove Buffy into a pit and like remain the hero of the world and keep everything intact. But he doesn't do that. He helps her, and he gives up what he really, really wanted, and tracks with this tertiary character, but it still tracks with who he was when we met him in high school, that he feels like just invisible. And it sucks to feel that way. It sucks to feel alone. It sucks to feel like no one notices you. No one cares about you. And of course he would want more than that. And to be selfless enough, yes, he like did this spell in the first place, but to be selfless enough to like experience all of that, like the amount of fame, he created the internet, Sarah, like the amount of fame this guy has, that like he has women moaning his name while making out with boyfriends,
Yeah.
He's able to give all of that up, which is very
how
impressive.
Soon would that get old though? Like it's amazing now because he's never experienced this. He's been in his opinion, he's been absolutely invisible to everybody. But I don't know. I feel like it would be cool for a certain amount of time, but eventually it has to wear thin. But yeah, it was nice that he does get to be the hero in a way, because he is the one that gives it up, but he's also the one that started this whole mess. And it's sad, like after the fact, after everything goes back to normal, everyone's like mad at him, but also we know that eventually everyone's going to forget, right? Is that just like the thing?
I mean, it seems that that's the theme. It seems that that's the thing. And like, I mean, I think there's a glimmer of hope there at the end, because Buffy doesn't have to walk over when she sees him. And yet she does finally take the moment and go, I'm going to see how he's doing through all this, because that's what the hero is supposed to do. And that's kind of not what she did, in earlier episodes with involving him. Also, in those earlier episode, when Willow is interrogating him, back when they were trying to figure out if he was, what did she say? Like, you have fantasy where you're big and famous and everybody worships you and everybody in the world revolves around you. It was like, yeah, who gave him that idea? It was Will in the first place, which I think is
That's funny.
kind of nice little
That
throwback.
is good.
Yeah,
I just have to say, Danny Strong's acting in this, like, who knew he was this good of an actor? Because Jonathan Superstar is so like confident and in control, and then that last scene when he reverts back to the Jonathan that we know is like, it's like watching a different actor. The whole
He like
physical-
shrinks inside of
Yeah,
himself.
yeah,
Like
it's
it's
just
it's
really
very
well done.
yeah. He does a really great job. Like it's he's really well done. Like I will say, I made a joke. I'm like, who did this actor have to pay off to get this episode created on this like very famous show all about him? But he does a great job. Like, you're asking a lot of a very small character in a past episode or episodes, but like still, he's in the background a lot, and he is so much is put upon him in this episode. Like, he is carrying a lot of this episode on his shoulders, and he does a great job. It is ridiculous and silly, but he's doing a great job. And I did really like the ending, like him kind of making that sacrifice. And I believe, because yes, we can blame him because he did this in the first place. I don't think he knew that like a demon would be created. So like in his mind, it's like, I'm just making myself the hero. He didn't know that like, oh, then there would be this like other side of
push and
things.
pull. I'm curious, at the point where Buffy involved him to try to track down the demon entity, like, he had to have known it was going to come back to him.
Well, he knew the symbol, right? Because he had the symbol on him, so he knew that.
Yeah, because he was trying to be like, no, I'll take care of it. You don't have to think about it, so that he wouldn't get found out. But then Buffy persisted. So then obviously, like, he knew he was going to get caught. Like, he was giving it's almost like he like leaned into, he's like, I know it's inevitable. Maybe. I guess that's my question. Like, did he know that the jig was up at the end of it?
I think it comes back to, you can't escape who you are.
Yeah.
And he has imposter syndrome, and he has no self-confidence, and even with all this augmentation and all the stuff that was going on, he knew who he was, and he knew this wasn't him. So he couldn't be the bad guy. He couldn't be the bad guy. If he wants to be the hero, and he can be the hero, but by being the hero, he's going to go back to who he is. And yeah, he may not like who he is, but there's got to be a better way, and at least he didn't, at least his solution this time wasn't, I'll just jump into that crevasse and kill myself. Like it was, let me try and help save the day, which is progress.
If you could be like uber famous like Jonathan for a superstar for a day, would you give it a go?
I would hate this. Like, I would not like people coming up to me asking for autographs. I wouldn't like paparazzi. Like, it's so invasive. I feel like I'm not a private person, but like I'm not a big fan of just being approached in the wild. So I don't think I would like this at all. What about you, AJ?
I think the anonymity factor, like I in another life, I was mascot for the New York Mets for 4 years, and so like I know what it's like to be a superstar that everyone's like, oh, let me take your picture, and then like, a few minutes later I can take the costume off and walk past the same people and they have no idea who I am, and that's perfect. Like, so
yeah, that's the benefit of that costume, right? Also, now I realize, AJ, why you were able to sit out in 95-degree heat and be fine with it, because you were in a Mr. Met costume in ungodly temperatures.
Yeah. High tolerance for that, yes.
Heat resistant at this point. I do want to mention Adam. He does appear in this episode. Like, we do get a little taste of the Adam stuff. We get Jonathan, again, superstar Jonathan, says that he noticed that like Adam doesn't eat, and he knows that Adam has a uranium-235 derived power source in his chest. And so like he has to be completely destroyed. Like, it reminds me of, I can't remember the baddie. AJ will probably remember the baddie where they had to like take all his limbs and separate them and like put them somewhere else.
The judge.
That's it, the judge. It reminds me of that like we have to completely annihilate him, which it's like, I mean, I probably could have told you that, but like, sure, okay, thanks, Jonathan. So we figured that out, and Adam is the only one who is not under this like spell. He's like, who cares about Jonathan? Like, he says that, yeah, he's like, everything is lies. I know what's going on. So it's like he's like an evolved being who can't be put under this spell, which does, AJ, make me a little concerned that like, okay, do spells not work on him? You know what I mean? Like, if this spell doesn't work on him, does that mean all spells don't work on him? Because what the heck are Willow and Tara going to be doing? You know, like they're supposed to be backup with the spells.
Yeah, well, I think, every year you got to up the stakes with the big bad. And, whereas you just came from having the mayor who embraced being, affected by magical creatures and all that stuff. And sure, well, we're going to one up it. This is some sort of automaton who just doesn't get impacted by anything. So, but at least they've given you the in here. And whether we remember it or not is a different story. But like, there's a power source in there. Explode the power source, you go boom. So there is a kill switch. So he's not invincible. It's just going to be really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Hours.
Sarah, how are you feeling about Adam? Because I know he is the big bone that people have to pick with this season. So how are you feeling about him now that he's getting more of a storyline?
I don't care.
Yeah, that's kind of he's just there. I feel like he's background noise for me. I don't really care about him.
I just have like so much more interest in like pretty much everything else about this show that like I just like can't be bothered, like I am so fully down the Ruffy rabbit hole that like that is where my passion and interest lies. So I don't care. I don't hate it. Like he's like, I don't know, some dude. And that's that. I think that like I'm very aware that like of what we could have had, what might have been, but and that sucks. But also, once again, I'm too in the weeds with Riley to care.
Yeah. He's just nowhere near as interesting as most of the other villains we've encountered. And
yes, comparatively so. Yeah. Like obviously we do our villain rankings at the end of the season. Like of course, if he's our big bad and we're not counting Walsh, then yeah, of course he's the lowest on the rankings. If we're comparing us to a mayor, to a Drew Lulu, to a Daddy Vamps, like of course he's like the worst of the bunch, like, but also I mean like the big bad is not what makes me like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's true.
And like of course that might not be like, I might not be the average Buffy fan. Like we all know that like I'm kind of in here watching a supernatural show when I'm here for the teen drama, but that's not what like the average Buffy fan is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think definitely. Look, this wasn't a full story arc where it was planned that he was going to be obviously, this, he wasn't supposed to be the big bad the whole way throughout, and they're kind of tap dancing and adjusting on the fly. So there's that. I will say, as a complete work, it fits in. I think it fits in. I think next season's big bad is probably my favorite in the whole story arc. And people debate 6 a lot, and I actually like 6 a lot in terms of what they chose with the big bad. But I think it's a natural progression, at least. And your mileage may vary on the success factor of it, but at least they're trying to make him a lot more formidable now than he was a couple of episodes ago when he wasn't supposed to be the big bad. So
yeah.
I mean, I would assume that like his original intention was just to be a tool. Like
he was Walsh's tool. Yeah,
he was a weapon, essentially.
Monster,
and so was Riley, like supposedly. So,
so technically, you could say it was the whole military-industrial complex was the big bad this season. So
right.
So if I were to combine Adam with like the whole initiative, essentially, then like I don't really have a problem with it. Like I don't really have complaints. It's different because the thing is that it's interesting because it is so different from the vampire big bads, from the mayor who's a demon big bad. It's almost like a little bit more like it's more science-y than
Grounded. It's grounded, a little more
science
grounded.
fiction,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think is fine because I think that it's interesting that it's different. Like I would be curious if like everything else for the rest of the seasons are more go back to like the supernatural aspect of it rather than a science fiction aspect of it. And maybe that's why it's like the outlier, why it's like not liked. But I don't have a problem. Like I haven't had a problem with like really anything this season at all. Like I'm
Yeah.
happy as I can be. And I wonder if it's like a case of like, are Buffy fans too serious sometimes? Like, are they not here for the lulz? Because I'm kind of just here for the lulz. And I don't know, maybe like we take our Buffy too seriously sometimes.
I think who's your core audience, and certainly the people who are watching the show because they love seeing, Buffy and Angel together, are not necessarily watching the show for the same reason that other people are. And I think from a plot standpoint and the sci-fi, the supernatural, that whole thing, I think this show never fails to hit on all cylinders, but it had to lean into the fact it's a WB type show, and that's the audience that you're also trying to hook. So yeah, certainly when you had those overly soapy scenes in the first couple of seasons, it's like, okay, that maybe wasn't for me, but it was for an audience that kept the show on the air, so I'm willing to tolerate it.
Yeah. And the thing I will give the show credit for, as far as the big bad of this season, is at the very least, I feel like there's been seasons that have been much more of, we're just going to drop off the main storyline for like 6 episodes and then bring it back around. At the very least, the initiative and all of that has been a consistent presence in this season, so that I've never been like, but what are we angling at? Like, what is the story this season? Because I've liked every season, so I'm not really shading the seasons too harshly, but it's like, there have been times where I'm like, okay, I feel like we're messing about a little bit too much. Like, I'm ready to dig into the meat. And maybe Adam came a little bit out of left field. You can't really blame them when like stuff fell through with an actor on the show that was supposed to be the big bad, because if they keep Walsh as the big bad, that's fabulous. Like, that's great. She's been around the whole time. Like, it's incredible. So I will give them that much credit, that like, I've never had to say, what are we doing here? Like, where is our big bad? It's always been an integral part of this season. Even when we had a stupid episode like Beer Bad, I
mean, less fluff, I feel like, as well.
And even if there was fluff, like, we enjoyed the fluff, it was like peanut butter and fluff. Like, it was great. So yeah.
Jess, if you enjoy the fluff, why don't you marry it?
I'm really loving this season, and I don't think people are going to change my mind.
I think it's a good season. I think absolutely. I think every season, I think, builds on the last, and it's the problem is that, again, they had when you were watching it, the switch in the middle kind of, and 3 weeks to this episode, 3 weeks to the next episode, and it's just like, this is what we get. I think that kind of soured people in the moment. Again, next episode, well, probably one of my least favorite of them all, and again,
I can't wait. Listen, Sarah, we're gonna stand it like we did Go Fish.
Well, that's my thing. Like, if everybody hates something, then I'm just gonna go the other way. So
I'm gonna find a way to love it.
Yeah. Or I might genuinely love it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Anything else about this episode before we do a speed run of Cordy's Corner?
I think I just said, going back when you're done, if you watch this episode again at the end of you'll see some things that, like, wow. And I think look for that going forward, especially when you get to the season finale of this season. that is such a great episode because of this whole. See, I don't know if this one was intended to seed all the future, but the season finale certainly was. And there's so much in there that at the time we were all just like, what did we just watch? And, but looking back, you're just like, oh my, you magnificent writer's room. Like,
Let's shift gears to Cordy's Corner, where we watched Eternity, season 1, episode 17. Basically, Cordy is not the best actor, but that's okay. We still love her. She is admiring this other actress, Rebecca. Rebecca has this stalker. She has this chance encounter with Angel. Angel and her definitely have some sort of chemistry. She finds out he's a vampire very quickly because my guy cannot avoid a mirror. And she, of course, she's getting stalked, and I knew it was her agent right away. I'm like, this guy is shifty. He is shifty as hell.
Yeah, very shifty eyes, right?
Yeah, he has shifty eyes. And basically what happens is she's very famous, but also, as we're wont to do, we age. God forbid we age. And you know how that business is, Sarah. It's always what the newest hotness is. Who has the tightest skin. And so she's like feeling the pressure of the job she's in. And she decides, in her infinite wisdom, I don't know how she plans to shoot things in the sun, but she is like, I'm going to become a vampire because I'll be immortal.
I think this is a great idea for her, quite honestly. I feel like this was the move. If you want to be eternally young, then become a vampire. I think that it's fine. Some people opt for fillers and Botox. Some become a vampire. I
just don't know the logistics of like shooting on set, like all this other stuff. Like, what are you thinking, Rebecca? Like, and so the way she goes about this, AJ, she drugs Angel to try to like loosen his inhibitions, and somehow, like, because we know the way that he turns into Angelus is by fucking and by like having the best time of his life and having the perfect moment.
Emotions, Jessica, whatever emotion.
Yep, sure. He's emotional and he's so happy. And so apparently this whatever, I forget, is ecstasy or something that basically makes him so happy that he turns back into Angelus.
A moment of pure happiness. Yes.
That's it. That's so stupid. I love it.
I mean, who knew all he needed was some Molly to be rolling?
Truly, I'm not advocating for this in real life. I'm just saying that out loud. Drug him every episode. I love Angelus. Sarah, you know this. I was very pro Angelus over Angel. Yeah. Angel, plain, boring, white toast. Give me Angelus. I love a baddie. And the moment I heard him, like, we couldn't see his face, but he was like near her neck. I'm like, oh no. Oh, he has vamp face. Oh, I'm ready for it. Oh, it's Angelus. And I was thrilled. I love, not that I wanted him to hurt Cordy's feelings, okay? We all know I love Cordy. But when he's just like so cruel and mean, I really did love it.
Right? Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Be mean to me,
Yes, be mean to me, daddy. Like, that's what I want to see. Yes.
Hurt me.
Now, AJ, can you remind us, you watched Angel, I assume, right? Like, I feel like we've definitely talked about this. Okay, yeah. So do you recall this episode?
I don't recall this episode. And again, as you're describing it, I know I've seen it, but there's nothing like, the problem is that this was the first season of Angel, and the next 2 episodes of Angel, I mean, I don't know how much spoilery you want, but the next 2 episodes of Angel are picking up from you were saying all that story about Faith. The next 2 episodes, Faith goes to Angel for the next 2 weeks after this episode.
We definitely got instructions. I'll have to look from a friend of like what watch order to watch in or something.
Yeah, the 2 next.
You kind of have to. Yeah, it kind of makes sense to now watch the next episode is called 5x5. I think you understand. That's fair.
Oh, well, Jesus Christ, just tell us exactly what's going to happen, Angel, with the title. My God.
Right. Well, but that's the thing. They promoted this as the huge thing. Like, where did Faith go? Yeah. Faith went to Angel for 2 weeks. And then, that storyline then resolves itself in the 2 more episodes down the road of Buffy. So it's kind of like... These are all intertwined and incestuous at this point. So you kind of, in order to get the full season 4/season 1, you kind of have to now follow Faith there for 2 weeks, watch those, then come back here. Actually, I would watch next week's Buffy first, then go there for 2, and then hook back here, and then you're caught up.
Next week.
But it is kind of part of this the Buffy story as well.
I
you're gonna be
believe
very confused
those
when you
episodes were
see-
on Michael's list.
Yeah, when you come back and see the Yoko Factor in 2 weeks here, you're gonna be like, wait, what did I miss? Well, it was on Angel. So you know,
Interesting.
Goodness gracious.
Is there can you think of another show that is this heavily linked to, like, another set of shows? Like, it just so reminds me of TGIF, like those episodes where, like, Sabrina and like Boy Meets World and all that stuff. But like,
you know, they've done stunts like this, obviously, with the Law and Orders, where they started on one and go to the other, and that sort of thing. And certainly you had the Arrowverse, where you had Arrow and the Flash, and they would you'd like, well, part 1's here, part 2's there, and that's just kind of what they did at that time. And so, like I said, normally I would say, oh, you don't want to watch it, but there's just important stuff going on.
Listen, I'm in for it. I'm watching Angel. Am I watching as closely as I'm watching Buffy? No, because it's a lesser show. But I feel like we've heard the same thing. That's what I was gonna say. This is the same thing we went through with Buffy season 1, with people being like, it gets better, we promise. Like, it's the same story with Angel, and every first season of a show is a little bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
So we'll keep plugging along.
Do you think that Cordelia needs to get a new career aspiration?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
No
so.
comment.
And I hate to say
No
it,
comment.
but I do think so. I think she is doing herself a disservice. Like, I don't think acting is her thing. I think she's much more of a people person. Like, I do think she thrives in like a social environment. So finding a way to leverage those skills, maybe in sales or something, like she could be doing more than act. Not that acting isn't, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she has the right skills for it. I think she has skills in other arenas that she's not exploring.
Yeah. Yep. I think so too. Eventually this business is going to take off, and then she won't need a side gig.
And she's the one who's trying to put the business on the map more than literally anybody else. So credit to her, because Angel sucks at it. Like, we can all agree that Angel just sucks at trying to promote his own business.
I mean, truthfully, Angel shouldn't be the one being.
No, he's not personable at all.
Personable.
My guy does not have a personality unless he's Angelus. Anyway.
Oh no.
Okay, let's get into some feedback here. We got an email from Andrew, who's checking back in. He is the one who caught up. He was catching up for a while. So he has some questions. I'm through 2 seasons, so I thought I'd check back in again. I just have one question for Sarah. At the end of season 1, she was desperately hoping Xander would die in the coming seasons.
Oh.
Does she still hope for Xander's demise?
That's so funny, especially because like I was the one that came around to Xander first.
Yeah, and you were the one who was like, "Just why do you hate him so much, man?"
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, he's just gonna." I said that he's going to die, or
I think you were hoping for him to die.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's gonna die without a doubt.
Okay, but you're not hoping for it.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with Xander, but I also think that Xander has an incredible talent to pick women that I really like, that force me to give him the bump. Like the fact, like he chose Cordelia, I was like, hey, I like him because of Cordelia, and then he chose Anya, and I'm like, I really, really like Anya, and now I'm like, okay, like I like Xander.
Yeah.
So like I feel like he has a good.
He has good taste.
A good picker, not pecker. I don't know. Maybe he does. I mean, Anya thinks so.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
And then also Andrew from the past, or Andrew would like to clarify to past us that Angel and Angelus are 2 separate entities. That's kind of funny that we're reading this on this episode.
Yeah.
And also, I'm glad you've gotten to the Terra era of the series, or the Terra, if you will, Lo. Oh my, Andrew, stop it with these puns. So good.
That's cute.
Tara isn't necessarily my favorite character in the entire show, but I would argue that she's the best character. I don't think there's anyone else on the show as purely likable and lovable as Tara. And if I get caught up to this point in the podcast to find out that either of you don't like Tara, I may have to stop listening and disown the entire podcast.
Jess does not trust her at all, and Jess has been saying like really awful things about her. So I'm just saying, I don't want you to leave, Andrew.
You want him to leave the podcast?
No, I'm just saying, Jess is being like a lying. Oh, not lying. You're not being trustful of her. She is a pure person.
I love Tara. I this is the first episode where I was like a little bit of a red flag because I've always felt like they were red herrings, not red flags. This episode, I got a teeny red flag.
I think
we're fine.
Suspicious. I think it's your anxiety talking.
Oh,
take
it
another
assuredly
Zoloft and
is.
call it a day.
It most assuredly is my anxiety talking.
Yeah, leave her alone. Leave Tara alone.
Oh my gosh. We also got an email from Rowan. Speaking as someone who grew up just a couple years younger than the age Riley is supposed to be, he 100% saw all those old live action Disney movies from the 60s and 70s because that's what the Blockbuster in his hometown had when he was a kid. Not only did he watch the 1977 Freaky Friday, but he watched it more than once because he had a big old crush on Jodie Foster.
Okay. I guess that tracks. I guess it tracks.
Funny. I think the reason a lot of old school Buffy fans have had a hard time with season 4 is a combination of Adam as sort of a lackluster big bad. People think Riley is boring, and the big shift in setting and character dynamics from the first 3 seasons at high school. Speaking for myself, I like season 4 a lot. Sure, there are a couple of dead episodes, but the show has really come into its own and it isn't afraid to take risks and try something different. I totally agree with that.
How can you like a high school show more than a college show? A college show it breathes life. I love college shows.
You really love you love a college show more than anyone I know.
I love a college show. If you put me in a college setting, I thrive.
Yes. We also got an email from Justin, mostly about the 2-parter from last week. But he's very excited Faith is back. I absolutely love how they showed her literally fighting for her life inside her mind. Only when she beats Buffy and crawls out of the grave does she wake up. And I love how they unveil Faith at the college too, just standing there as Buffy and Willow are talking about her.
Very cool.
Speaking of that eventual fight between the two, Willow, I applaud you for trying to get into the fight, but what the hell were you even going to do to her when she takes the bag and like hits Faith with it? That was very funny. Like you guys, I absolutely loved the Tara Willow scenes, especially Tara telling Willow she's hers. I really felt for Tara too during the meeting up with Buffy at the Bronze. As someone who stutters, it was a gut punch to see her being mocked for it, as people did the same to me when I was younger. That's really terrible. Hurt my heart when it happened.
Yeah, I just watched an Ally McBeal episode where Nell mocked John Cage's stutter, and I was really pissed about it.
Yum. The Buffy meeting up with Spike moment, she had no right being as sexy as she was there. As for the Riley / supposed Buffy sex scene, my guy Riley is a nice guy. Yeah. They say nice guys finish last, and it's true because we make sure the women finish first.
Exactly.
I haven't pre-read these emails.
I love that we are making sure the men that listen to this podcast know facts are facts. Be gentlemanly. The women should finish first. Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
So
funny. Justin says, Faith talking to Giles to get him to believe her. Eliza Dushku is cute as is, but her questioning cute face when she asks what a stevedore is was everything. And I absolutely love the Faith Buffy fight scene at the end, especially because as soon as she sees who killed the vampire, her inner hatred of herself comes out. She starts beating on her body, even letting her inner thoughts out. Buffy's knowing look at the end as she finally understands Faith, ironically, because she was also in her skin as Faith alludes to earlier, is everything. Regarding the Freaky Friday stuff, I can't blame you, Jess, for wanting to pee standing up. And then we'll basically helicopter it around, because if I became a woman, the first thing I do is play with my boobs. Thank you, Justin. Exactly. Like, we all, I'm sorry, but every person in the world wants to pee standing up at some point in their life.
You can.
I mean, I could get like one of those female urinal things.
No, just stand.
I'm not making a mess of myself.
I'm just saying, you can do it. Like, if you want to be free, then do it. Fuck it. Go.
Also,
please
Justin
stand up.
volunteered to Freaky Friday with me, which is so kind of
Oh, that's
him.
really nice,
Very
Justin.
kind.
Thank you so much, Justin.
That's really nice because
Really,
the
I'm so
person
glad
that-
you trust me.
Yeah, just wanted to Freaky Friday with. He said no. So
Big fat no, yeah. My husband did. He didn't say he would, but he said that he wouldn't want me to with anyone else. So I think that means that if there ever is an opportunity, I could guilt him into doing it. Okay, we also got an email from Linda. Hey ladies, you know I'm here to show my love for my boy Jonathan Levinson. Superstar is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Wow.
I remember when Linda wrote in the last time AJ was on and showing her love for Jonathan. So this tracks. Superstar is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. Imagine my delight the very first time this episode aired and I saw Jonathan was in the opening credits. I've been waiting for this episode ever since I found out you guys were covering Felicity and Buffy at the same time. I meant to mention this earlier. I'm so happy you brought this up, Linda, because
Linda.
one of the vampires was freaking Richard from Felicity.
Yeah, I too just recognized him purely by his voice. So it was pretty cool. I mean, like his face shape is the same. He looks like Richard, but that was a really cool crossover.
It was kind of funny, yeah, especially because I was just ragging on Richard pretty hard last episode.
We don't like Richard. We're mad at Richard again.
We're mad at Richard, yeah. He did a bad thing. Going to keep the rest of this short and sweet like my boy Jonathan. I absolutely love seeing Danny Strong get to shine in this episode. I want to point out Jonathan never had any ill intentions. He never wanted to hurt anyone. He just wanted a place where he belonged and he just wanted friends. He created this world where he was everyone's everything. Yet you see the basketball posters in the background. The main focus Jonathan had was helping Buffy and Riley work through what happened with Faith. Being able to help others was his focus in this world where he could have had anything. I feel like Xander echoes this sentiment perfectly when he says, I'll remember how he made me feel about me, valued and respected. I did love that line too. Also, fun fact for those not watching during the original run, there was a rumor going around at the time that Joss was doing a sock puppet episode, which makes Buffy talking about them being actors in his sock puppet theater way funny. Y'all just jinxed yourself to talking about how amazing this season is because the next episode is, in my opinion, the second worst episode of the series, with Beer Bad being number 3.
No, it's the best episode of the series. I refuse. You
all
are
even
rude.
seen it yet.
What's it called? It's my favorite episode ever.
Where the Wild Things Are.
I said what I said. It's my favorite episode of all time.
Yeah. So... thank you so much for your feedback, Linda. And sock puppets? Like, what? That was a rumor? What? Sock puppets? I hope that never happens. That'll be bad if it does. Yikes. And we got an email from Michael, who was listening to one of our bonus episodes on Varsity Blues, Sarah. If you remember way back when we covered that one. Yeah. He said our accents are ridiculously funny. And he wants us to bring back the bonus episodes. Okay. What I will say is, we are so close to finishing Felicity. We will revisit at that point because it's a summer and we're both very busy people at this moment in time. But possibly once Felicity's over, we can do some more bonus stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm glad you're having fun with Varsity Blues. That was a good time. Mm-hmm. And that's all our feedback. Everyone really showed out for Jonathan this episode.
Everybody, like, it's nice because Jonathan just wants to be seen, appreciated, and heard. And it seems as though America loves him.
He's been heard and seen by all our listeners.
He truly is a superstar in his own right.
Yeah.
So good for Jonathan.
And a game changer.
Yes. Was there any tidbits, AJ, from the you said the writer, right? Or the director? I forget.
Yeah, the writer, Jana Spencer. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there any tidbits that you got from her?
She just loved writing for him. Like I said, he was such a joy on the set, and they just loved having him around, which is why they just started throwing him in more and more episodes because he was interested in becoming a writer, and one day we'll win an Emmy for writing and all that stuff.
What Emmy? What did he win an Emmy for?
Oh, there was an HBO special, Sarah Palin's. It was called Game Changer. That's why I threw that joke in.
I thought it was a Survivor joke. Okay, gotcha.
He was on HBO. He was involved in the TV show Empire, and he's been writing for Dope Sick. Okay. He's done a lot of stuff.
I
on the
mostly
writing
know
side
him
of
as
things.
Doyle from Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. But no, she was saying like how like Joss came up with this idea to do this. They just didn't know where they were going to fit it in. But she said, I have to write for it because she just loved writing for this character and she loved hanging out. Like they weren't even like really close friends at the time, but they became really good friends as a result of working
So
together.
sweet.
And like, it was just such a fun idea. And then it was just how many things can they throw in the background? How many things but still make the story coherent? So
Yeah.
it was the crew really got into this episode because they love supporting him. And she said the only downside was that he can't sing, so they had to get somebody else to provide the voice.
The trumpet thing was very funny to me as well.
Yeah.
Sarah, did Adam, was he playing the trumpet for realsies? Did Adam appreciate it? No, he wasn't.
No,
so
and
Adam was upset.
Adam was pissed about it. This
Yeah,
is
as
this
expected.
is my husband's like main gripe in life, that he hates it when people fake play instruments in media.
But what are they gonna do? Like, you can't. What are you gonna make the guy learn trumpet for one scene of a show?
I don't know. It like Adam has a real problem with it. It really.
I could understand. Shout out to Everwood, which is covered on Whirlwind Podcast. I could understand being upset if like a main character's main hobby or activity is an instrument, and they don't either find an actor who plays that instrument or have that actor learn to play the instrument. That I get. For like a one-off scene, I feel like I don't have high expectations.
Yeah.
But
well, it's apparently
teach their own. It's his cross to bear, Sarah. It's his cross to
I
bear.
really can't care about it, but he does. So,
well, we've already talked about the title for next week's episode, Where the Wild Things Are. So, as we're expecting it to be our favorite episode ever, I can't wait to watch it.
And then Angels 5x5.
Angels 5x5. Yeah, we're gonna watch 2 Angel episodes, I think. So we'll do that for next
5x5 and 6x6.
Oh, that would be funny. Let me look.
Oh,
5x5 and Sanctuary.
oh, okay.
Mhm.
Starts with an S. Basically got it right. Okay.
Well, that's
No.
next week.
Yeah.
AJ, thank you so much for joining us again and bringing all your fun little tidbits. I love having people on who like are so ingrained and they know everything from like, you're like, yeah, there was a 3-week break. I'm like, who would know that? You know that. And we appreciate you bringing in the knowledge. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I promise to get this tattoo removed immediately. And there's someone in the backyard I have to take care of. So
Incredible. Well, we'll be back next week with Where the Wild Things Are. Until then, everyone, here endeth the lesson.
Just ask. Shit 90 shows taught me.
Shit 90 Shows Taught Me was not filmed before a live studio audience.